Have you ever met someone and walked away thinking, something feels off, but I can't quite put my finger on it? That's often what happens when we encounter people with questionable character. It's not always obvious. They don't walk around with a sign that says, I can't be trusted. But over time, their patterns, what they consistently choose to say or do, tell us the truth. I've spent years studying human behavior, trust, and relationships. And one thing I've learned is this: character isn't revealed in the big dramatic moments of life. It's revealed in the small, everyday choices. When people show you who they are through repeated patterns, we need to pay attention. Today, I want to share with you 5 behaviors that often show up in people with questionable character. And if we can recognize them early, we can protect our energy, set boundaries, and make healthier choices about who we allow close to us. It starts small. White lies, half-truths, exaggerations. You've probably experienced it. Someone tells a story, and you catch yourself thinking, wait, that's not how it happened, but you let it go. Or maybe they give you a version of the truth that feels polished, curated, like they're editing out the messy details. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but over time, those small cracks in honesty begin to tell us something important. Here's what I know from research and years of studying trust. When truth becomes negotiable, trust starts to collapse. It doesn't happen overnight. It erodes little by little. Because dishonesty isn't just about the words someone speaks, it's about what those words represent. Truth is the foundation of connection. Without it, nothing sturdy can be built. And here's the tricky part. Most people with questionable character don't see themselves as liars. They tell themselves, I'm just protecting someone's feelings, or it's not a big deal. That's how dishonesty hides under the disguise of harmlessness. But when truth gets bent for convenience, it reveals a deeper pattern, choosing self-protection over integrity. Think about it this way. Integrity is doing what's right even when it's hard. Honesty often costs us something: comfort, approval, sometimes even relationships. And people with strong character are willing to pay that price. People with questionable character, they trade honesty for short-term comfort. They tell the easier story, not the true one. Now, I want to be clear, we all stumble here. Every single one of us has told a white lie, has chosen silence instead of truth, has softened an answer to avoid discomfort. That doesn't mean we lack character. What matters is whether dishonesty becomes a pattern, something we default to whenever the truth feels too heavy. Because patterns are what reveal who we really are. One of the most powerful things I've learned is that trust is built in the smallest moments. It's not built in grand gestures or heroic acts. It's built in the daily decision to tell the truth, even when it's inconvenient. And when someone bends that truth again and again, they're showing you that trust isn't a priority for them. Well, here's something interesting. Research on trust shows that once people start lying in small ways, it actually changes the brain. Neuroscience has found that our brains adapt to dishonesty. The more we lie, the easier it becomes to lie again, and the less guilt we feel about it. So what starts as a harmless white lie can over time turn into a habit of dishonesty. That's why it's so dangerous. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of dishonesty, you know how it feels. Confusing, disorienting. It leaves you second guessing yourself. Am I remembering wrong? Am I overreacting? That's the cost of being around someone who bends the truth. It doesn't just damage trust in them, it damages trust in yourself. So here's the bottom line. When someone chooses convenience over honesty, they're choosing to protect themselves at the expense of connection. And if we want to build relationships that are rooted in trust, we have to pay attention to those small cracks, because small cracks don't stay small. Over time, they split wide open. That's why bending the truth isn't just a bad habit, it's a window into character. When something goes wrong, notice how people respond. Some lean in, take ownership, and say, "That's on me, I'll make it right." Others immediately look outward, pointing fingers, making excuses, or rewriting the story so that they're never at fault. This isn't just a bad habit, it's a character issue. Because accountability is the heartbeat of trust. Without it, relationships simply can't function in a healthy way. Here's the truth. Mistakes are part of being human. Every single one of us gets it wrong sometimes. But what separates people of strong character from those with questionable character is what happens next. Do they own it or do they run from it? People who consistently avoid accountability aren't just dodging responsibility for one mistake. They're telling you who they are. They're showing you they value protecting their ego more than protecting the relationship. And here's why this matters. When accountability is missing, shame and blame rush in to take its place. Research shows that blame is actually a way to discharge discomfort and pain. When people feel exposed, when they feel they failed, they often look for someone else to carry the weight of their mistake. It's a defense mechanism, but one that erodes trust and connection over time. You've probably seen this play out in your own life. At work, it looks like the colleague who drops the ball but insists, "Well, I wasn't given clear instructions." In relationships, it sounds like, "If you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have reacted this way." Over and over again, responsibility is shifted like a hot potato, tossed away before it can burn. The problem is, the longer accountability is avoided, the more trust gets burned instead. And here's the kicker. Avoiding accountability doesn't just damage relationships with others, it damages the person doing it. Because accountability is how we grow. When we admit mistakes, we're not just repairing trust, we're also building resilience, empathy, and self-awareness. People who never face their mistakes never evolve. They stay stuck circling the same patterns again and again because growth requires honesty with ourselves first. Neuroscience even backs this up. Studies on learning and behavior change show that the brain actually rewires itself when we reflect on mistakes and take responsibility. Owning our missteps creates the conditions for real change. Dodging them, that just reinforces the same cycle of denial and deflection. The real danger is that when we're around people who constantly avoid accountability, we start to feel crazy. We carry the weight of their blame. We start questioning, am I the problem? Did I do something wrong? It's exhausting. And the truth is, their refusal to own their behavior is not your fault. But it will always impact you if you let it. So what do we do with this? We pay attention. We notice the patterns. If someone shows us again and again that they can't own their part, we stop expecting them to. Because accountability isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest enough to say, I was wrong. And if someone can't do that, no amount of excuses can cover up the truth about their character. Now, there's nothing wrong with being charming. We all appreciate someone who can light up a room, make us laugh, or ease the tension in a difficult moment. Charm, in its best form, is a gift. It helps us connect. It opens doors. It makes relationships feel lighter. But when charm is used as a mask instead of a bridge, it becomes something very different. And that difference tells us a lot about character. Here's what I mean. When charm is authentic, it feels natural. You walk away from the interaction feeling seen, valued, maybe even encouraged. But when charm is used as a mask, it feels a little different. You walk away feeling entertained, maybe even dazzled, but not truly connected. Because the goal wasn't honesty or vulnerability, it was distraction. People with questionable character often use charm not to build trust, but to cover up what's underneath. And I want to pause here because this can be tricky to recognize. Research on communication and trust shows that humans are wired to respond positively to warmth and charisma. Our brains literally release feel-good chemicals when someone smiles at us, laughs with us, or gives us positive attention. It lowers our defenses. That's why charm can be so effective as a mask. It plays on our biology. But here's the catch. Authentic connection requires vulnerability. Charm without vulnerability is just performance. I've seen this play out in leadership settings again and again. A leader who is magnetic and charismatic on stage, but avoids hard conversations behind closed doors. Or in relationships, the person who knows all the right things to say but never actually follows through with real action. That's the difference between surface level charm and deep character. One is about impression, the other is about integrity. And here's where it gets really important. Charm as a mask often becomes a way to manipulate. When someone uses their charisma to dodge accountability, to distract from dishonesty, or to win people over while hiding who they truly are, that's not connection, that's control. It's like wrapping a gift box that looks beautiful on the outside but is empty inside. Over time, the wrapping loses its shine, and you're left realizing there is nothing real underneath. This doesn't mean we should become suspicious of everyone who is outgoing or charismatic. Many people who are warm and engaging are also deeply authentic. But the test of character is not how someone makes you feel in the moment. It's how they show up when things get hard. Does their charm disappear when vulnerability is required? Do they lean into honesty or do they hide behind a smile? Something I've learned is this: real connection requires courage. It requires being willing to be seen even when it's messy, even when it's not flattering. People who rely solely on charm avoid that. They want admiration, not intimacy. They want applause, not accountability. And over time, that pattern reveals exactly who they are. So yes, charm can be delightful, but if it's only ever used as a mask, if it's never backed by honesty, vulnerability, and follow through, it's not connection, it's performance. And performance, no matter how dazzling, can't hold a relationship together for long. Healthy relationships are built on respect. And one of the clearest ways respect shows up is through boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They're not about shutting people out. Boundaries are simply the lines that protect our well-being, our time, our values. They say, this is okay for me and this is not. And the way someone responds to your boundaries tells you almost everything you need to know about their character. People with questionable character often start by testing boundaries in small, almost invisible ways. Maybe you say you're busy and they push, oh, come on, it'll only take a minute. Or you set a limit and they laugh it off as if it's not serious. At first, it feels minor, maybe even harmless. But over time, those little dismissals add up. Because when someone ignores your boundaries once, it's not a mistake. When they ignore them again and again, it's a choice. And here's what I've learned. Respecting boundaries requires empathy. It requires someone to pause and think, even if I don't fully understand this limit, I honor that it matters to you. That's empathy in action. But people with questionable character often see boundaries as obstacles, not as invitations to mutual respect. They push past them because what they want matters more than how you feel. Research on relationships shows that when boundaries are consistently ignored, it doesn't just create conflict, it creates a deep sense of mistrust. Because boundaries are really about safety. When someone keeps stepping over them, what they're communicating is, your needs don't matter as much as mine. And when that message is repeated, you stop feeling safe. Think about the last time someone dismissed your no. Maybe you said, I'm not comfortable talking about that, and they pressed anyway. Or you made it clear you needed space and they showed up uninvited. That feeling you had, the frustration, the unease, maybe even the shame for having to defend yourself, is your body's way of telling you this is not respect. And let's be honest, setting boundaries isn't easy. It takes courage. It often feels uncomfortable, even scary. But here's the thing. People with strong character will meet your boundary with understanding, even if it inconveniences them. People with questionable character, they'll challenge it, mock it, or try to make you feel guilty for having it in the first place. I once read a study that found guilt tripping is one of the most common tactics used by people who struggle with boundaries. Why? Because it shifts the focus away from their behavior and back onto your discomfort. It makes you feel like you're the problem for daring to draw a line. And that's how they regain control. But let's be clear, asking for respect is never the problem. disrespecting that request is. Here's the bottom line. If someone truly values you, they will value your limits. It's as simple as that. Boundaries are not tests of loyalty, they are expressions of self-respect. And people who can't respect boundaries are showing you loud and clear that they can't respect you either. This one is simple, but it's also one of the clearest red flags you can ever notice. If someone consistently gossips, criticizes, or tears others down behind their back, it's only a matter of time before you're the one being talked about when you're not in the room. Words are powerful. They're not just sounds strung together. They are evidence of what lives in someone's heart. And when a person uses their words to diminish others, they are showing us exactly where their character stands. I've always believed that the way someone talks about others is the truest measure of how they'll eventually talk about you. Because here's the truth. If someone has to shrink other people in order to feel big themselves, that is not confidence. It's insecurity disguised as power. Gossip and criticism aren't about honesty. They're about control. They create a false sense of closeness by making you feel like you're on the inside, but that kind of connection isn't real. It's built on betrayal, and betrayal always leaves a stain. Research on trust shows that gossip is one of the fastest ways to erode psychological safety. Why? Because when you hear someone talk poorly about another person, a part of your brain automatically wonders, what will they say about me when I'm not here? That little seed of doubt is enough to weaken trust. And trust, once weakened, really returns to its full strength. We all know how tempting it can be to get pulled into gossip. Sometimes it feels like entertainment, sometimes it feels like bonding, but here's the cost. Gossip creates a culture of fear and judgment. In families, it divides. In workplaces, it poisons collaboration. And in friendships, it leaves you constantly wondering whether the loyalty is real. To make a distinction here, there's a difference between processing a difficult relationship with someone you trust and tearing people down for sport. Talking through challenges is healthy. That's about seeking clarity, maybe even healing. But consistently speaking poorly of others when they're not around, that's about feeding insecurity. It's about elevating oneself by lowering someone else. That's not just questionable behavior, it's corrosive. Something I've learned is this: people who are grounded in their own worth don't need to diminish others. They can celebrate someone else's success without feeling threatened. They can acknowledge someone's flaws without making them the punchline of a joke. That's what strong character looks like: confidence without cruelty, honesty without humiliation. But when someone habitually criticizes others in their absence, they're showing you their playbook. They're showing you that relationships are not about loyalty or safety or trust. They're about performance, hierarchy, and control. And that kind of environment will eventually leave you drained, suspicious, and uncertain about your own standing. So pay attention to the way people talk when the person they're talking about isn't there, because those conversations are where character is most visible. If someone builds trust by keeping confidences, by speaking with kindness even when the other person isn't present, that's integrity. But if someone builds connection by gossiping, criticizing, or tearing down others, that's not integrity. That's a warning sign. The bottom line is this: if they're willing to do it with you, they're willing to do it to you. So here's what we know. People with questionable character don't always reveal themselves in big, dramatic ways. They show us who they are through patterns, through the little cracks that repeat until they become impossible to ignore. They bend the truth when it's convenient. They dodge accountability and shift blame. They hide behind charm instead of showing up authentically. They cross boundaries as if they don't matter, and they use their words to tear others down when those people aren't there to defend themselves. None of these behaviors on their own may seem earth-shattering, but together they tell a story about trust, or more accurately, the absence of it. And the most important thing I want you to remember is this: you are allowed to pay attention to those patterns. You are allowed to set boundaries, to step back, to protect your energy. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain it. Because here's the truth: character matters. It matters in our friendships, in our families, in our workplaces, in our communities. And the good news is, once we start recognizing these behaviors, we no longer have to ignore that quiet voice inside that says something feels off. We can trust ourselves enough to listen, to respond, and to choose differently. At the end of the day, we can't control how other people show up, but we can control how close we allow them to stand to us. And when we make that choice with clarity, with courage, and with compassion for ourselves, we build lives grounded in trust, respect, and genuine connection. So as you move forward, pay attention, trust your instincts, and remember, you deserve relationships where honesty, accountability, respect, and kindness are not negotiable. Good luck, and may you always have the courage to choose connection over convenience and truth over pretense.